Hey, hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Going pretty well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, I went for a good walk today. There's a nice walk out to a bakery called Furen along the Sammamish River Trail, and I was getting some documentary ideas because that's what I think my documentary is going to end up centering around this nice river trail.
Nice. Very cool. Yeah, I think that'd be a nice setting for a documentary.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I
I
think
also had a
I have a nice little hook is that I've never the trail goes a lot farther than I've ever been on it from. Like it arcs all the way around to like downtown Washington. And so that's kind of the exciting part of the documentary is like I don't even yet myself know like what it's like to hike sort of the full trail in a
hmm,
sense. It's a couple different trails that like link up, but it's kind of exciting to have this premise of like I like this trail, so already it's kind of cool to show it off, but also it goes further and there's like a bit of an adventure there. I think this weekend I'll take it sort of the full length and end up downtown and document that a little bit.
yeah, nice. Do you think you'll run it or just long walk?
Yeah, it's like 35K. I don't think I think that's pushing it a little bit for running at the moment, but I'll probably end up like jogging just to like make it go faster because it would be about a
Yeah,
7 hour. It's like 7 hours walking, and stretches of it are just like sort of a bike path by the highway. So I'll probably put in some AirPods and just run run like jog.
yeah. Less interesting for yeah, documenting. Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I have to come up with something. I'm not sure yet. I yeah, I just had a nice day in the park with my partner, but um yeah, we've been on a real kick of trying to like learn all the trees that are next
Oh
to
yeah.
our house, just like kind of going block by block and like learning. Like we've got like all the trees on our block, and now yeah, we're expanding. Um
There's a documentary.
yeah, maybe. Yeah, I was thinking like yeah,
Yeah,
like
just
how to make that
I have no
interesting though.
idea.
I don't know.
If you got some like close-up tree footage and sort of like any detail that gives away what I assume you're talking about like types of trees, any
Yeah.
detail like leaf type that gives it away, or maybe there's some trees that are hard to tell, but get some like close-up footage or start. But then I guess you're almost like doxing your tree doxing yourself.
Yeah, yeah, maybe. Yeah, if it's too close to our house. Yeah, that's a tricky one. Yeah, I guess my partner's gotten really into like all sorts of like textile art, like fabric and dyeing and things. And maybe there's an angle because it's like part of like learning about the trees is like learning how they look when they're dyed or like different uses for the yeah, for like the flowers or berries or whatever. And so yeah, some of them we take home and we turn them into various garments. So yeah, that's kind of a whole journey, I guess.
So what's that? That sounds unexpected. So you take something from the tree and use that as like textile dye.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I usually don't. I'll just lend a hand here and there. Like they're sort of the one who knows more about the whole process and everything. But
So like what? Like trees' leaves are green. So is it green dye or what? What is
no,
the
it's actually like all sorts of different colors. Like there's some eucalyptus nearby, and uh, those leaves turn kind of yellowish. And it kind of changes depending on if it's like fresh leaves or like older leaves on the ground. Um, and then there's like yeah, sage will um, like look a little different. And yeah, there's one that was like unexpectedly red. Like pine, I think pine cones like turn red when you put them in water and boil them a little bit. Um, I could be making all this up. I don't exactly remember the details, but yeah, there's a lot of like interesting um, yeah, ways to do it. And yeah, I guess like yellow's been the big color, but that's just like mostly from like buying turmeric or um, yeah. So yeah, it's fun. It can yeah, I mean they've been getting like better and better. So it's some of the clothes look really stunning. And like learning different dyeing techniques where um, you can like uh, take like rubber bands and tie them up in different ways, like kind of like tie dye, but there's like different techniques
Yeah.
from like around the world, and
Oh, right.
yeah. So I guess yeah, maybe there's a subject for if they're down for it. Mm.
Yeah, because I guess I could picture something like you're sort of like introducing the concept in general of like maybe it just starts with going for walks and learning the types of trees, but then it introduces the concept of extracting dye from the trees, and then it's so unexpected that there'd be different colors. And
Uh-huh.
then if you could somehow get like a t-shirt and then cut out like the Minmax Arrow logo in like cardboard, but then like every time you discuss like a certain dye color coming from a tree, you do like a close-up shot of like that dye being applied to like the t-shirt, but you never reveal the zoomed out image that it's like the Minmax logo. But then at the end you can do that shot where you like take off the cardboard and it's the Minmax thing. But then that shirt, if you had like a tie-dyed Minmax logo shirt, if you ever get that to a meetup, you could get it signed, uh, and then maybe it just makes its way to a charity auction. That'd be kind of interesting, like the
Yeah, that'd
full
be funny.
full
Yeah,
circle.
full circle. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I like it. Interesting idea. I heard on um I don't know, I was listening the other day to one of the recent Minmax episodes. They were like something referenced your game, your and the rap in particular. Oh yeah, they were like saying they should import it into that Death by Disco or whatever that new game.
Oh
Uh
yeah,
yeah, I don't know if you yeah, I came
yeah.
across that,
I think I've heard
but
them talk about that game.
yeah.
Is that the one where it's like one button or something?
I don't know. Yeah,
Or no, yeah. So
I'm
it's
not
not the
sure.
one you've talked about before, like that rhythm game you were
Oh,
talking about.
Rhythm Doctor. Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
different one than that.
Yeah, I don't
Excuse
know
me.
if I've heard that the disco one yet. Uh, is there actually
Um,
some? Yeah, I wonder. Yeah,
yeah,
I
it's
haven't.
I
I've never
guess
heard them say that on the podcast, but yeah, that's kind of interesting.
yeah, I think it was like last week's. Yeah, and they said it's like a really cool, like I hope it turns out well, but right now it's like a really cool sort of demo-ish state in early access, but you can like import songs into it. Uh,
Oh,
yeah, yeah, they like your, they like and remember your min-max rap.
yeah, I actually created like a 3-minute documentary already that I was debating submitting. That's essentially just I like went downtown Seattle and I toured the Moore Theater, and then so I learned some stuff like about that theater. One of them is that they at some point they a chandelier fell and they used like Ringo's drum head, like a spare one, to use as like a light fixture. And then you could see like all the lights were looking like that, and they were like, "Oh, then the style caught on," and like we replaced all the light fixtures with sort of a similar looking like oval shaped thing, or
Ringo
like
Starr, like the Beatles guy.
yeah, he was just
Uh,
performing there, and I guess
cool.
he tossed out like a drum head that didn't tune as he liked, and then some like stagehand kept it because I guess they collect all that kind of stuff that gets tossed away. And when a chandelier fell, they just needed to cover the hole before a concert quickly, so the drum head like fit the hole randomly, and then that apparently led to the now like the style of lights in that theater are all kind of inspired by that or something.
Yeah,
Uh, but
that's a
then I
cool
do
story.
remember almost I think maybe like Ben Hansen or something had come to Seattle because I remember offhandedly someone, maybe it was through Minmax, like mentioning this, a Ringo Starr drum head going on a light fixture. I don't know where I'm remembering that from.
Mm.
Uh, But so like my documentary began with that, and then it just sort of, and then I found a way to segue into just playing 2 minutes of my Halo rap. Uh, but then at some point I was a bit worried that even though I had like paid a guy on Fiverr to like make a remix of the Halo beat, because I think the vocal is like close enough, I was worried that even though like my Halo rap didn't get any sort of copyright flag or anything on YouTube, so I assume the track is fine. But I was worried that it was like too close for a while. But then I also felt
Wow.
like it was, I was sort of happy with my Halo rap, so I wanted to like get it into min-max content somehow. But now I just feel like it's not really needed, uh and it doesn't fit perfectly. Like it makes me happy because they would see it, but uh I don't think it fits well enough. And I have now some other I sort of, I went back and rewatched my original like Running Past Places documentary also, and then I saw that like I looked at their comment, what they say on stream about it, and they were like they thought like I'm always surprised that like they thought it was good, and they mentioned like the sort of the it has sort of a thesis about connection and stuff. So then I thought like I always go back and I look at my stuff and I'm like, oh, that was kind of good, and I should uh I should try to like raise the bar or something, or do something that's uh equally good. But now as I mentioned, my idea is like something like documenting the Sammamish River Trail run. But I think maybe I have an idea that like I got another beat from the guy on Fiverr, and I have an idea that I would write about a minute of like hip hop somehow. But it's quite a struggle to because essentially it's like a hip hop about going outside and running, or like the joy of like being on this trail, which is
Mm.
hard to like find a tone that fits that, where it's not like it's got to be like 98 beat per minute like sort of energy, but it's not about me running or anything, or the length. Like it's not, I don't want it to have uh like an intensity or like any sort of bragging, or even like a little bit like cringy if it's sort of like hyping up like walking, even though, but that's the challenge, is like it really is fun to be on that trail. There's moments where you just feel like this is an amazing trail, and it's quiet, and
Mm.
it's so well placed that it's like that energy should translate to hip hop. But if you don't pick the right words and rhythm and stuff, it ends up being like silly, but it's like a serious thing, but it's feels a bit silly or dorky or something.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Yeah, I could see that being a challenge to get the tone right. But yeah, I also think like you could totally nail it, like in the juxtaposition of like the descriptions being like a little more high energy, but the things you're describing being like very like um meditative. Like I think that could I think that
yeah,
could
I'm
work.
hoping to. It's fun that they're like 3 minutes. It's hard to. It's a good length because
Mm.
I'm debating like if like 1 minute of the like say the center minute of the video is like hip hop to a 98 beat per minute song, and that song has about a 15-minute like sort of intro to the track, or a 15-second intro to the track with no beat. So that sort of gives me like that, and then maybe I find another similar-ish track where I can. But then I was thinking like it's interesting to try to play like 1 minute of like even just that challenge alone is like I have a minute of hip hop, and it's in a certain like tone, and then the first, or the first 2 minutes, or the first minute, the last minute, they have to fit like there has to be like a blend between the just me like hip hopping, and then also just talking or whatever happens in the rest of the video. And that's like a because it's kind of easy, like if you have a beat you can map out like exactly how long it takes you to say stuff on the beat. But then if you
Mm.
don't, if words don't rhyme or whatever, then it doesn't, like it's hard to say stuff at a cadence if it's not rhyming and if there is no beat. And so that's like my idea is like, could I actually get it where the whole thing is like there's 2 minutes of like poetic talking that is not rhyming, and then somehow it just the timing is like a seamless transition into the hip hop, and it feels like not not sort of because it's sort of unexpected. It's like at first it's like, well, how am I going to transition from like I'm about to do this trail and then just like, switching into like as the audience realizes like it's now hip hop, it's almost like that cringe feeling I get when I watch like a musical where it's like, oh damn, they're breaking into song. Like that seems a bit over the top for this. But that's why I like if I find the right transition to like sort of bring up the energy and then the beat drops exactly when I sort of segue into the hip hop, then and then if it's sort of like I'm still basically just talking, but now it rhymes and the words are fitting with the beat and there's sort of a few pauses like in that minute, then I feel like that'll just be like fun to try to the challenge of just kind of dialing it in and feeling like where do I have to find words that fall in a certain way to just make everything flow. Uh, and then especially if I do leave like a minute at the end after the hip hop, it's sort of like the hip hop ends. How do I just like stop hip rapping and then transition back to like, like so anyway, like that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I really like that idea though. I think that would be really fun to sort of slip in like a magic trick, just like yeah, like I feel like it could be. I like that that those few seconds of like uncertainty as to like, oh, has it started like rhyming? Like what's going
Yeah.
on, into like yeah, where yeah, and then slipping back out where it's like yeah, maybe the music fades or
Yeah.
um yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I feel like I got like one tiny amount uh better at how I record, where like one thing I remember from the voice instructor that I did for like 1 hour, they told me like rehearse the lyrics at a slow pace. Like don't go if it's 98 beats per minute, just talk through the lyrics like slowly. Uh
Mm.
and sort of in the way of like have the full emphasis and be like you're telling a story, you're putting emphasis like as you would uh naturally or whatever, and then like keep that when you speed it up. But that's actually the real challenge is if like my raps like so far there's just like a bunch of like non sequitur like lines after each other that if you really put the correct emphasis, you'd like in as you're rapping in your mind you have to just like all of a sudden out of nowhere there's like a line that requires a certain emphasis that doesn't follow from the previous, and you have to like get in the headspace and remember like, oh yeah, like I'm supposed to say it like this, just and then like there's like a bunch of lines after that that are everyone is kind of different. And that's I guess that's the struggle is like if I wrote it properly I guess it would flow and the emphasis would be consistent and it would be like a story, but it wouldn't be like a literal story, it would be kind of abstract, but there'd be like ebbs and flows naturally to the emphasis rather than like each line being just kind of a different emotion randomly or something.
Mm. Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't wouldn't think about. Yeah, that
Mhm.
makes sense though, as a practice technique to sort of yeah,
Yeah, it did help.
think through that.
It was fun I did it a little bit for my Halo rap, like just talking, like just reading the the story and sort of like stepping through the visualization in my head and trying to get it to where it's just sort of like me talking over the phone to someone or something like that, like explaining, uh, and
Mm.
then trying to carry that through. Because yeah, also I guess my dad is planning to make a video this year again. Uh,
Oh, cool.
but I can hear like when uh like I think he'll come up with something good. He has like a draft video already of uh a a decent thing. But you can tell like when he writes a script for himself and then he reads it, but you can definitely tell like his talking is like very stulted or whatever. Like it's very clear like this is a person reading from a script. The,
Mm.
the pacing, the syllables. Uh and I guess he doesn't want to put like so much effort into it, or it's even like I'm even struggling a lot trying to get away from the like just like saying words in time with a beat that don't fall naturally. Uh, but it's pretty fun though to try to really extract like try to almost like talk talk as if like no one's listening or it's not being recorded in the natural way that like one does,
Hmm.
but like do it on demand almost. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that sounds like a fun challenge. Yeah, yeah. I feel like yeah, I guess I never think about my own voice too much. Like it, I I do have the phenomenon a lot of like if I listen to like a recording of myself or like a in a video, I like will often not even recognize my own voice. Like I sound so different in my head compared to the actual recording. So yeah, maybe there's like some aversion there even. I'm just like I don't sound like that. Like I don't I don't even want to like touch it. Um,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
funny writing like writing lyrics. I definitely have like the voice that I want in my head and it's not my voice at all. So then whenever I do that first like read through of the lyrics, I have to like change stuff so that I can actually perform it. And I do that like as best I can.
Mm,
Uh but so then I've like I was thinking like I sort of like I should listen to my own music and really pay attention to like how my voice sounds so that I could maybe make the voice in my head match my real voice and then just forget about writing lyrics for like some other voice that I wish I had. Just like keep in mind, like I wish I could sort of have the monologue voice in my head be exactly like my voice because then it would just be immediately obvious like how things have to be written to for my voice to be able to like say it properly
mm,
and have it be sound correct or something.
yeah. Yeah. That's a yeah, it's interesting exercise. Yeah. Being like yeah, forcing your brain to accept how your voice actually sounds is yeah.
Yeah, just like the speed of it and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. What else do you have? Are you're still in your alone time?
Yeah.
Yeah, era. What? Yeah. Have you been working on any like I don't know projects besides Dock Lightning?
Yeah, the I think I have a solution for like Godot multiplayer. There's this JavaScript
Oh, cool.
framework called Peer.js. In like a regular website, I've always liked this simple JavaScript library called Peer.js that where they actually maintain like a free I guess it's called a stun or a turn server. If you use the library and you're just prototyping, it'll basically you can just like create new peer and it hands you back like a code. And then if someone else using that peer.js library, if they try to connect to a peer using that code, you'll get a peer-to-peer connection established. And that library has always like if computers are not behind a firewall or doing some weird like if they're not a mobile phone or something, then it works. You can connect like two computers for multiplayer.
Mm.
But now I learned that in Godot 4, there's a global variable called JavaScript bridge that if you export a Godot game to the web and you use this JavaScript bridge variable in in your Godot code, it will give you access to like the JavaScript environment of the web page. And so
Oh,
then
cool.
that means like you can create like a custom like basically you take the index HTML file that Godot generates when it does like a web export, and then you just add like peer.js and you like create all the peer.js like the three like create a peer, connect to a peer, receive data. You uh, make all those functions like visible to the window object, and then inside Godot you can connect to them with the JavaScript bridge. And so then when you basically in Godot you have functions that you can call to like create a peer and receive data and connect with peers. Uh, and then but yeah, then like you just have to export to the web to test it. Otherwise, you have to like mock because if you press play in the Godot editor, it just throws an error because it says like JavaScript bridge doesn't exist. So then
Mm.
you just have to write like a fake mock to prevent the error, but you can't actually test anything for real in the editor. But
Mm.
that would be so this now though is like, I could just make like a lightweight project with just that capability that like when you open the project, it just has like 3 Godot functions that allow you to create a peer and connect and send data. And then that would be like a good just like a free, like it would be like free multiplayer that doesn't require a server. I guess they say if you want like stability in production, you should host your own like stun or turn server. I don't really know much about that. Yeah, like Peer.js will have you one for free for testing, and it always has worked whenever I run my stuff.
Cool.
So that's a pretty interesting thing because I would like to make some kind of like simple, maybe just like a simple hangout game where 2D characters could like walk around and sort of do, like, I'm assuming do nothing, because it gets really annoying to sync the state and send all the messages and detect if a peer is connected or not. So I want to make just like, people can join and walk around. And then maybe in a future like min hacks, maybe I could work something out where like when they play the game on stream, they could host, and then I could somehow limit. I'm sure it wouldn't work for like more than 4 or 5 people at a time, but I could limit like the first 5 people that join. The host would just reject all future ones, and then at least whoever, if there's 5 people ready to go watching, they could join, and that would be really interesting.
Yeah, that does sound cool. And I feel like multiplayer is such like I feel like it's the um I guess we talked a lot about it like the last week or so, but it's just such a thing. Like
Yeah.
Would always like dream about trying to make like a good multiplayer but experience. But I'm always like like it just seems a little too hard. I think trying to just like tackle it head on is a nice challenge.
Yeah, and it was one moment where like AI helped a little bit, where like, because I just, in my head I was like just sort of reviewing, like, I wish I could use Godot and I wish I could use Peer.js, because like Peer.js has worked for multiplayer and Godot has worked for game design. And so basically I sort of felt like they're just like, I'm never going to host like a server with a headless Godot running on it for multiplayer, and I'm never going to build like a full game. Like there's just, I was sort of thinking like, should I use 3JS again? But then how do I do like level design and all these things? So then I just asked like ChatGPT, like, basically, I want to have a Godot game that exports to the web and uses Peer.js, and it told me about this like JavaScript bridge, and then I just like verified that it was that it was a real thing, and it was.
Yeah.
So then,
Nice.
yeah, and then it sort of it gave me like the simple code that's just like, it's like, make a custom like HTML file and add these functions, and then later on down the line I asked it like, can I mock the JavaScript bridge? And it wasn't hard to mock. It was just like it created a class and created like the 3 functions and just had them print like nothing as a mock, so to prevent the errors. But that has worked so far. So yeah, I'm hoping that I could get this like hardened so that it becomes just like a GitHub repo that I can pull down to start a new Godot game, and just, if I could just like not care. I assume there's still like work to do, because I'll have to make like a menu where you could click like host or join, and if you click host, it lets you copy like the join code. Then you have to send that to your friends like somehow, but then they could boot up the game, click join, and enter the code, and then and then if it was just like that's the work I'd have to do every time. I could sort of make those menus maybe reusable or something, and then I would have a project where it would just like, it starts, it asks you host or join, and then everything's like seamless, and then just while you're building the game, you have the ability to send and receive messages from, you just assume peers, and I feel like that is like, thinking about it from that perspective, like if that was like very hardened and correct and out of the way, where it was just like 3 or 4 functions that handled the generation of peers and communicating, that's what I would expect. And I would sort of, and it would be cool if it just worked. It was free, no server needed at all. It's just peer to peer. That would be like, that seems the ideal thing. And apparently like this will work on itch too, even if your game is like hosted in whatever, in an iframe or something on itch, it should still work.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, I think if that pans out, then at least I'll have some kind of demo of characters walking around. But then it would be cool as well to add like little things, like just even something very simple, like you can hold a ball or you can throw a ball to another player or something, and everyone sees the ball in the same place. Just add
Right.
something like every once in a while, try to add some kind of more complicated networking thing.
Yeah. Yeah. A little bit of interactivity and networking. Yeah.
Yeah, or I
That
guess
sounds.
maybe it might sort of derail when, because you have to write, I guess, all these, yeah, we talked before, yeah, all the timers and stuff, like where I'm sure that immediately I'll just want to be able to detect, like if a player has gone offline, I'll want to like sort of get a function call for that, and that means
Uh,
like timed events, and then you have to pick the time. Uh,
yeah.
so
Implement
maybe then,
Raft protocol in Godot. It sounds like a nightmare. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. There's got to be a easier way, but yeah, that sounds fun to work on. I've been like doing a sort of somewhat similar thing of like making a template repository for myself, with like just like a bunch of like bells and whistles that I feel like might help me on future projects. Because I've realized that working solo, like I operate completely different than when I was like coding in a team. Where when I was with a team, I would be like extremely like attentive to detail and like yeah, that was like my mode of being like a little uh, yeah, like almost pedantic about like code quality and stuff. And yeah, then working solo, I just completely abandoned all of it, and it becomes a struggle for like bigger projects. So yeah, I'm trying to make this template that like yeah has like as much like linting, formatting, uh, checks as possible, and like automatic deployment to itch and steam if you want, and um, like checks that everything builds, all that type of thing. And yeah, I'm like pretty close to done. And yeah, like the reusable menus and stuff might be like a small advantage for game jams too, just to have like, because for most of them they're fine with like if you just have like a menu system that you use for all of them. Um, so
hmm.
that might be helpful just to reduce the
That's
startup
pretty.
cost. Yeah.
That sounds pretty advanced, like auto deploying to itch and stuff from you
Yeah.
mean like Godot.
Yeah, yeah, like with like GitHub Actions or whatever. Uh yeah. Yeah, it's cool. It was fun to work on. There's like open source stuff that already exists, but it's definitely like a little bit Wild West. Like um some of the repositories aren't like super well maintained, or just like don't have a ton of people working on them. So um sometimes like the documentation doesn't quite match up, and yeah, it took a little bit of debugging, but yeah, I think I'm pretty much there. I'm just trying to fix up some of the menus to make it, I don't know, like reusable and clean and everything. Um, yeah, so that's been fun to work on.
Yeah, have you ever gotten into like UI in Godot? I always have to like struggle with that. I find it's not super intuitive with their like control nodes and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
during nodes and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've sort of would have been working on it the past few days, and I've gone in phases of doing that. Yeah, I've gotten used to it a little bit, but I definitely can't say I'm an expert or anything. Um, But yeah, there's like some fun things uh like just like this small thing of like implementing a like in the menu, like when you like scroll over a button or yeah, just sort of move to a new selected button. I have like a thing where it'll like play like a chime that's like uh, going according to this scale. So like you can uh, like if you just like constant if you're holding down the down button, it'll like play this scale over and over, like in a little like harp noise, and then like whatever button you're selected over, like little like um, uh, flower images like kind of like bloom up and uh, yeah, stuff like that. I think I don't know, it does scratch like some sort of itch for me of just trying to make like tiny pleasant um, interactions, but yeah, doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't like, make too much progress on like that the meat of a game. And I also fear like uh, won't necessarily translate to all different types of screens, and I don't know. That's one thing that I'm still not too sure of, like how to make the UIs in such a way that it works for different screen types.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting little system, and like the different like the theme editor, like you can do some interesting stuff. Um,
Yeah. I like like making videos for this reason that like any small thing, just like the feeling about making a thing that is not necessarily like advancing, the done definition of the game or whatever. You can just like make a video about that thing, and then the video becomes like an interesting thing. Like people will spend maybe 5 minutes watching the video, and that's like a
yeah.
product. And then it feels like cashing in on, like, sort of you spent time having an experience, you communicate that experience in a video, and then now people are entertained. And if they did ever play like a game with that effect, they're like primed for it, and they understand like the sort of, they have like a connection with the effect because of the video, and the game is made by the same person that made the video, and then it's more of like a whole ecosystem that they're in, instead of just eventually like a game or something.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like a way of, yeah. I think that's a good phrase, like cashing in on like like an artistic
Yeah.
expression, because otherwise it's like, yeah, in a big game, it's like, especially for if a game uh, doesn't end up getting a ton of eyeballs on it, I feel like it can, I don't know, I could feel like a little like off
Yeah.
if you're like, oh, I was so eager to like share my expression with people, and then and then 10 people play it, and like most people don't notice these like little details. So you have to either be like just like completely satisfied with making it something for yourself, or like, yeah, try to share your ideas in other ways, like, yeah, videos, or blogs or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And then also I feel like the skill, like somehow it feels like making like a 5 minute video that conveys 5 minute or less, or 10 minute, that conveys like an idea clearly. I feel like that's a pretty useful skill. Like it's every thought we have or everything we do could be converted into like a video package. And I just feel like there's like no end to what like the what can be contained in like a video description of something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just because,
Yeah.
and like leaning on like all the tricks that now like people have developed for short form video for YouTube, and all the ways that you can indicate something like to the audience that they'll recognize, because everyone watches video so much that everyone's like it's very clear to everyone like how videos communicate stuff.
Right. Yeah. 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 I really love like the Doc Lightning thing, watching those, because it's like, yeah, somehow it's like, oh, what is the difference between this and like YouTube Shorts? But it's like they're so different. Like
Yeah.
I feel like Shorts, I mean, for the most part, always exceptions, but it's like, I guess it's, yeah, the sort of like making something for an algorithm versus like just like an earnest short expression of something or exploration of something. It like always makes me feel like uh, just like full of humanity and like appreciative of human creativity versus like this almost the same thing. Like if I ever like used to like scroll like YouTube Shorts, it's like almost the opposite feeling,
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know, they're both just short videos, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah, it helps probably that we like it's a community that we understand and sometimes see like in different ways, that it feels like,
Yeah.
yeah, it feels like another angle into that same community. So then it's interesting just to see whatever it is. But then yeah, YouTube Shorts is like, any short we watch, we're never gonna see that person again, and there's no, like, I yeah, sometimes like if I go a long time without seeing a movie, I'll just get a feeling of like I really need like to just be taken on like a 90-minute like journey
Yes.
something. I
Yeah.
just want like, and I just feel like I want someone to like tell me like this is a good movie, and then I'll sort of look into what it's about and stuff, and just feel like that's going to be a good, like, once I'm sure I'm invested in the thing, and then it just feels like this is going to be a good 90 minutes of like like good stuff. And
Yeah.
sometimes if I can't find that, it's always like that's when it feels draining, is if there isn't like something in my queue that will be like a good time, that's just like a nice put together video, like long form video or something.
Yeah. I totally resonate with that. I've been, yeah, getting into just like trying to make a habit of like watching a movie every few days, for like that reason, because I think it just like it fills my cup so much. Like,
Right.
yeah, in ways like, I don't know, even like reading. I think it's just a different uh, experience. Like watching like a good movie. I don't know. I think it's
It's
yeah.
funny
I
too
watched.
how like, yeah, once we intake enough good movies, I feel like I could almost, like, it was funny when I was thinking about how should this Sammamish River like 3-minute Doc Lightning video be. One image in my head I thought of was like, okay, it's gonna be like a shot of the river with the bike path in the foreground, and then like a bike goes past, so you hear like the approaching bike, and then the whiz, and then it goes, falls off as the bike goes past. But then big white letters that say something like Sammamish River Run, as like the music in the background is like kind of building its way towards like a beat. And when I thought of that, like that single frame of the video, kind of, it sort of set in my mind like what, because it's almost like, imagine there was like sort of a lo-fi rap about the Sammamish River, and it started with like just sort of you could tell like it's a stylistic like big white letters like floating above the water there, with like a
Mm,
bike in the foreground. It's sort of, it like, with that first frame, it almost like it makes me think of other like, like no commentary hiking videos, or like scenic things, or when people have like a guitar outside and they're playing like a song in like a field or something, and the camera is just like them. uh And it was funny though, because it was almost like it made me realize like if I can just think of like what the opening frame of the video would look like, and then I just copy in my mind like other videos I've seen that like sort of just do what the viewer is that I know what the viewers expecting based on what I've like shown them, uh, or even like the music. Like it's like if I just go along with whatever the music does, if I do something that's like tonally appropriate, uh, informed by like other videos I've seen, it's kind of interesting that we almost like we have like these patterns like encoded in us, and the more you like play into those, the more people will like they'll follow along without realizing, or uh yeah,
Yeah,
it's kind of
yeah,
mhm.
yeah. I agree. It's like I don't know. Yeah, it's really interesting to try and excavate that like sort of I don't know taste. I guess is like one word for it. And like
Uh,
where it comes from. Like what are your influences and uh,
yeah,
like talking to my like 13-year-old nephew is like I don't know like when or even people like just like a little younger than me like just the differences in like talking about like the movies to like people that are like I don't know 6 years younger than me. It's like they clearly like we can relate on so many levels, but uh their points of reference are often like a little different in ways like I don't know like Minecraft for like one thing where I was like oh like I know Minecraft and I like sort of but it for you know for those people at least it was like such a cultural like touch point of um like all of their not only did they play it but like all of their friends played it and it becomes like uh yeah it like informs so much of like how they interpret art I guess uh as just like one random example um yeah I don't know I do find that like really fascinating and then yeah across like different cultures I think it just like uh exponentially like changes I don't in yeah infinite ways and um yeah I love watching like foreign films like sort of any film where I'm like I just don't know like there's like a lot of things that are going over my head here like I love that feeling um yeah and then trying to like understand it a little better but knowing that I like there's things that I just won't.
yeah, yeah. When foreign films like can break through, they're always like very interesting. There was one like sometimes I'll just look up like top dramas of the past couple of years. I did that a couple of years ago, and I found one called like Drive My Car. It was like I think it was a Japanese film or something, and it
Mm,
was kind of just like it was like a guy who's an actor, uh, is assigned like a driver, and there's a bit of tension because he likes to like rehearse his lines out loud while he's driving. He's like, I don't need a driver because I don't want someone else like hearing me rehearse my lines. But once the driver says like, oh, it's no problem, then he's like, okay, I'll try it, and they end up like, uh, it's like they have sort of a unspoken relationship, the driver and him.
mm,
Uh, it was just yeah, it was like really interesting characters, and it just a very like simple story that goes like strong the whole time. And yeah, it was
mm.
like I was like, no, yeah, it made sense that it was on like I think it was on like a higher Rotten Tomatoes list or something.
Yeah, yeah, the ones that yeah yeah and then the differences of like the ones that break through versus like yeah talking to people where it's like they are more like knowledgeable about like a specific uh culture or anything it's like often they'll be like whoa like I don't like no one like really will understand like why certain ones break through to other audiences and like certain ones don't, that are like, just as good if not better. But it's like, yeah, it's just like one of those things. Like maybe part of it's just like marketing or whatever, but um, yeah, like kind of trying to like yeah, like analyze like why things resonate with people, I guess in general. It's like such a fun, for me it's like always, it's like an endlessly fascinating thought experiment. Or like, yeah, same with like video games, like why certain ones become like really, you know, popular and like uh, in ways that are like it's like I get, people liking different things and um, like differences in taste and every and all that, but then like, some games just sort of like will transcend and like it's just like, oh, everybody loves this, like it like yeah, like that this game is just like capital G good. Um, that's like, yeah, like why? Like why does that happen?
Yeah, it would be interesting if something like Stardew Valley like wasn't globally popular, and if you sort of played it, like would it feel like it feels so authoritative? Like it feels like this is the like farming experience because as you play it, you sort of know like everyone can like relate to it. I wonder if that
Hmm.
wasn't there, like would it like how would that affect playing it if you sort of knew no one's like no one else is gonna be able to share these same memories or something.
Yeah, yeah. If you had no knowledge about the cultural reception to Stardew Valley, would it like even register as like something special anymore? Like I don't know.
Yeah, like I guess I wouldn't even know that there's any gifting going on or like that you can get to know the characters or that I wouldn't know the depth of any of the festivals or even like that there's a story like based on my own play. I would just be like, oh, this is a game where you like put beehives on your in your
Uh-huh.
farm.
Yeah, yeah. Very interesting. And like I'm sure there's, I don't know, games released like all the time that like get very little reception and that like just with like a slightly different set of circumstances could like become the, I don't know, the next one of those, the next Undertale or whatever. Like I could so easily have seen like Undertale being just like some very obscure
Yeah.
game that like, some video essay people make things about, but like basically no one knows about. Um, I don't know.
Yeah, that one's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
interesting with Undertale's interesting because uh like I just feel like there's no way I could make it through enough to get into the depths of a game like that. But I sort of know that there's like a bunch there and the characters are developed and interesting like sort of character moments happen. Uh but but I guess it's sort of, yeah, it's like if I did if I did get into it enough, then just by the number like the by the amount of time I've spent with it, anything would sort of seem interesting and important. And yeah, it's like how many people are likely to get past like to get far enough into it that they figure out what it's about. Like if you sort of figure out completely what anything is about, it's probably fascinating. So then it's just a question of like how many people spend the time to like get into something. And then I guess once a game crosses like a certain threshold, it becomes like one of the classics, and then people will just like play through it and have an opinion about it, and like some of their understanding will be informed by other people telling them like that this character is important or whatever, or this is like a fascinating moment. Because yeah, I feel like a lot of stuff would go over most people's heads if they weren't sort of told by reviews and stuff about what is the general importance, or like even just that the game is kind of messing with you is fascinating. I don't know if many people would like be able to pick up on that. that the game is, they think it's just a bad game now that it's like messing with you, unless they're
Uh-huh.
told like this is actually like an intentional thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess yeah, it is like a maybe an interesting prerequisite for a game to um, go become like viral like that is like having that uh, amount of depth. Like, uh, yeah, like think about like there's just like some science around taste or like flavor taste of like well like are people that are really into wine like is it just like a purely a psychological sort of like uh, I don't know like made up you know status symbol thing or whatever but it's like no like actually like certain flavors like for like wine or beer or coffee like if there's a lot of like I forget how it's described, but maybe yeah, like there's like bitterness and just like a lot of depth to the flavor. Like it can be like really like against like, you know, there's like a lot of people that just like kind of hate the taste of all those things. But then you can also get like really into it. Like it can become like your favorite thing too, because there's that amount of depth. Um, and I guess yeah, for like certain, especially like indie games, it's it's like the maybe there's that prerequisite for having that sort of like that level of depth and then getting wide enough adoption where like people you know where it hits enough people right that they it becomes their like their favorite thing ever even if like for me like I tried playing Undertale and I was just like I don't think I can do this like
Yeah,
I yeah it was just not for me but yeah, I can, you know, totally see just based on my cultural knowledge of the game, like how it would become people's favorite game, and um,
yeah.
yeah, it's interesting.
Oh, did you watch the Spain travel log for the Virtue and a Sledgehammer?
No, I haven't actually. I've been saving it.
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah, I
good?
didn't do the I was debating like should I just do the whole 11 hours, but maybe eventually I will. But yeah, the 1 hour video is good. It really, yeah, they did a good job with especially the, yeah, like the 1 hour sort of produced cut or whatever, public cut or something. Uh
Hmm.
yeah, it's got, I like the people in it, the way they talk about the game, the situation they have, like one of them's a musician. Uh they show, it looks like they had some cool times in restaurants, like just kind of hanging out in restaurants, eating like a couple desserts slowly. Uh, and good footage too. There's one shot in particular that's like one of the music people's like playing the piano or something, and I guess it's Ben Hansen as the camera, and he's shooting it like through the mirror, so you see them like reflected. And I thought that was a good framing for the shot. Like it's sort of, it's very spontaneous because it's just like they're all standing in the room, but it was a good choice of like shot for the situation. It felt like beyond like travel law. You wouldn't expect like a sort of almost like a thoughtful artistic shot in like a random travel log of just a handheld camera.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I wonder if like maybe being in that environment, like such a creative environment, sort of subconsciously leads to like more interesting cinematography decisions and like yeah, taking risks like that. That's really cool. Is it like a pretty small studio?
Yeah, it's from what I understood, it's like a guy and his wife. You see their office, like they both work in the same room. They have a couple of rooms in their apartment, and then there is like their friend who has their own like small apartment that they just produce the music in their apartment. I guess sometimes they meet up. They live close by, and so they meet up sometimes, or they do video call. And then there's a second studio that is also like a guy and maybe his wife that live together. One is a 3D artist, the other a programmer, and they're like their own studio, but they're kind of being like contracted by Virtue and a Sledgehammer or whatever their studio is called uh,
Cool.
at the moment for like just for this like for the title. Yeah, at some point the guy mentions like because the main guy dev that's making the Virtua and a Sledgehammer game, he says like it seems like game design and producing the game and sort of controlling the story is very important to him, and he's like good at it. It seems like at some point he had a conversation with these other two people where he said, like, it's gonna be like our game and I'll do the story, and if you don't mind, like, we'll sort of cut you in and pay you to like do the art and like take our direction for the game.
Hmm.
Uh, and I think that was maybe a difficult conversation because the other two people like they also want to be like a studio and make games, and I feel like they may have wanted to have like creative control also on the title.
Hmm.
Uh, but then it seems like they handled that well and they're all like still good friends, and now they're in a situation where like yeah it's sort of the story's being told like coherently with one person, and then the others are like working on it, but I assume they're an independent studio. They would make their own stuff in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, that does sound really fascinating. Just like such a small but like yeah, close knit relationships and making making that work for um like a really like cool looking game. Like just from the trailer that I saw.
It's
Um
surprising that they get into it in the travelogue that like they produce like every game they publish on Steam, they make like several free games on itch, and throughout the travelogue they cut in footage of like all these previous games they've made that
wow.
that look pretty decent. Like said, they look like one-off ideas that were fairly fleshed out. Uh, but then yeah, even just sort of surviving off the income of like $3 Steam games and then making free games on itch in between is such a thing you would not expect to hear in like 2026. It's sort of like wow, like
Yeah.
there's actually like a game dev and his partner and friends just hanging out and making game. But it sounds like they work pretty hard, which is I guess that's maybe the secret is that
Uh-huh.
the travel log is like the 2 days of vacation they've ever taken, maybe, and then the rest is just
Oh,
like
interesting.
sitting in that apartment making games.
Yeah. I hope it, yeah, probably, I mean, it's really smart for them. Like, my guess is that, the travelogue and everything helps their sales for quite a bit. And yeah, I played,
Now,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just, I think I'll check it out.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, it almost, for some reason, yeah, like one thing that I learned about the game in that travelogue was like, at one point, like I don't know if you hit the robots with a sledgehammer or something, but there's like a robot that's like cowering, and they were talking a little bit in the travelogue about how that's like like why do we feel a certain way or an emotion towards the robots, like they're just like they're not people and they're in a game and stuff, but uh for me when I saw that it's like oh the robots are cowering and I have a sledgehammer, like if there's any sort of like to complete the thing you got to hit the robots, that would sort of cross the line for me where it feels like but that's like what I would do in reality is not hit the robots if they're cowering, and if I can't
Uh-huh.
advance the game, like I'm sure the game deals with that smartly somehow, but it's like if the game doesn't advance unless I hit them, I guess I'm not advancing the game, and that's sort of now my worry is like well if I sort of feel like I can't I don't want to complete like I don't want to just like complete, because that's a thing that I struggle with in games is like if it's forcing me to like make a choice which it then questions like that choice as part of the
Mm,
story, then it's like well why don't I just watch a movie of some, like why is it making me do the actions of this and then like having me consider something I wouldn't have done like as like a philosophical thing.
yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I could see that totally, like, not working for a lot of people, like the games
Yeah,
that sort of force you into choices you wouldn't
but I also don't,
otherwise
yeah,
make.
I guess I don't know for sure. I just sort of had suspected that, but I have no idea actually like how the actual game will. I don't
Yeah,
know anything about the game. I just know that there's robots in
yeah, it sort of sounds like that. That's like what's probably gonna happen.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say I played like a little bit of Cosmic Wheel Sisterhood, which I guess was also by them, which I didn't realize
Yeah,
until
that
recently.
name came up. I think it was Sarah that liked that game, and they said,
Yeah.
yeah, apparently Sarah really liked it, and I didn't know much about it, but yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I really liked it. Like I didn't get like super far. I don't know why I stopped. I think I just got distracted by something, but um yeah, I really love like the art um the art of it, and yeah, I was really intrigued.
What is the do you like control a character like WASD or you're picking dialogue or how's and
Yeah,
or the cards?
for at least the start, it was like dialogue picking, and then like yeah, it's been a minute, but it's like choosing these different mm, yeah, like you can spend these like different sort of magic key, like you play as a like witch, um and yeah, you choose these cards that kind of determine like how you're gonna be, I think. I don't know. Yeah, it was like a little esoteric, but yeah, just the style of it. Like you could sort of decorate the cards, and usually I feel like I don't spend much time decorating in games, but for some reason this one was like really, it was really compelling, uh like options for the decor, and yeah, I was really intrigued by the story too. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I definitely one I want to go back to someday. Um, yeah, but it was a little more visual novel-y from what I played.
Yeah, that it sounds like interesting from like it sounds a bit I don't know where they're taking their inspiration from, but mechanically like unique in a way. Uh and that yeah, maybe I should check it out just to get the exposure to the like almost like UI that like it sounds almost like hard to describe in a certain way, like almost as if it's getting outside of genres that we have like kind of fixed names for somehow a little bit, which is
Yeah,
kind of I feel like that's actually like a pretty important when games do that. Like I don't know where people get their ideas, but uh, when a game can do that, and then it like almost doesn't do well because it's like you can't assign a genre to it and give an elevator pitch like it's bigger than that or something.
yeah, yeah. It's weird because I yeah, part of maybe my be not describing it like super detail is just like me sort of forgetting because it's been a couple of years. But yeah, there's definitely something like a little like different about it. Like it's like a narrative choice game in structure, but then yeah, there's also this whole thing with the cards that like yeah, make it a little different, I feel. um but yeah, yeah, it was the thing I remember the most is the art style. I was like pretty stunned by. It's like some of like the coolest it must be pixel art, I think. But yeah, some of the coolest pixel art I've seen for sure. Um, yeah.
Yeah, when I started thinking about multiplayer games, I thought like it would be cool to have little cute pixel art that depicts like a dungeon environment that like four players could run around in, and maybe like you could swing a sword, smash a chest, and find a key, and maybe even like my I sort of started to have like scope creep, but I was like, what about like a four-player game where you have like it's like a 1 minute escape room, and the four players have to like run around the room, maybe solving some coordination puzzles that players might get used to. Like it would be like reusable. Like you'd sort of get into this tiny procedurally generated room, communicate with the other people to see if you can like solve the puzzles and get the key or whatever and get out in 1 minute. And like as you'd get better at playing the game, as you start to recognize the puzzles, but you'd still need to like coordinate the timing. but that would obviously really push the limits of like what I can do multiplayer, or even like the biggest thing would be like the art at the first set out. Like I would be envisioning kind of like that. Yeah, like when you're talking about art there, like that's also a whole thing is like if you have good art, that really drives the game. Uh, and it's making me think like I've had good success hiring this guy. It's like the same guy on Fiverr. I'll pay him like $25, like well, $25 to $40 per track when I need like a beat. Like I'll send him like a song that I like, and I'll say, can you get like a remix or a track inspired by this? And he's been giving me like good results. Maybe I should find someone on Fiverr that can do like a sprite pack, because it would be kind of cool to be like, oh yeah, like make a chest sword, like a sword swinging animation, and like a little character. Maybe like if I found the right person, like maybe for $100, they make like a set of sprites, and then if I just had all the art that I needed, that would really make the game come together like visually pretty fast.
Yeah, that's a cool idea. Yeah, I think yeah, that's something that I've been like, yeah, I don't know, like a little like hesitant about for some reason. Maybe because I'm just like I feel like I never have a clear enough idea of exactly what I want until I like start making it, that I'm like, oh, I fear like if I paid somebody to make something, then I would like instantly be like, well, actually, I want something completely different now. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think that's a really probably a good way to do it. To um, yeah, just pay artists
Yeah,
for
once
things.
I sort of I sort of learned like my parameters, like 98 beats per minute. I'll send like a link, to as an example track, and then I'll say like a drill type beat, and between like 3 and 4 minutes, and then it's like whatever comes back is like good enough. And sometimes there'll be like the beat will drop out in the middle of certain tracks, and then that ends up kind of changing how I write stuff a little bit, and that's kind of fun. Like it's
Mm,
sort of like I just have to. It's like I sort of requested a beat that I know I'll at least vaguely like, and then I can follow the flow of the music when writing, rather than have to insert like my own sort of flow to it or something. And maybe if I could figure out the parameters of art, like if I wanted to make like if I just needed like various like a tile set, some items, a character running animation, if I could sort of list out like these ingredients, then pick an artist and have them make something. And then if I sort of knew like if I got into the habit of like knowing this is the tile set and the art that I need to make a game, then it would be kind of fun just to be like to almost like design, start designing the game I want, and then just like scope it and adjust it to fit the art. And then in the
mm,
end, yeah, it's sort of like then it almost like saves me the problem of like it's like uh going from I can just think of whatever I want and then try to make it myself, to like these are the set of items and stuff that I have. The story must like use only this. That would be a nice constraint. And
yeah,
in the
yeah.
past, I've always
Build.
because there's so many like free art sets, but I guess I think it would feel different to like pay some amount of money, get the delivery, having it been influenced by like the request or whatever, and then feel like that person like helped me make the game, rather than that I'm using like a generic art set or something.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great point. I feel like that resonates. Maybe it's like yeah, because I feel like the similar free art set. It's just like oh, it doesn't feel quite specific enough to any vision that I have. But if it's like if I'm like working with somebody, then and they make art that I pay for, then it's like I guess there's both the sunk cost like aspect of it
Yeah.
where it's like that you kind of want to use it, but also just like okay, like another human made this like with a thing that I said specifically in mind, and then I feel like yeah, I could connect more
Yeah.
to the art set. Yeah.
And it also, what I found with the beat guy is like as I learn like better how to request the beat and I learn like what is he going to hand back. I feel like if I got to a point with an artist, then it would start to feel like, you know, now I understand like how much money gets me how much art and what is this artist, like what kind of stuff do they hand me back? And then I would start to feel like actually I could make any game I want to because all I have to do is like send them a list of stuff that I want and then I'll know that I get it back. And that's like a cool thing to have in the back pocket is like anytime, you know, if I think of an idea that the art piece is like solved because I'll just like outsource that to like a reliable connection or someone that I've like came to trust or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that could also be like a potentially like a way to find like long-term collaborators, and if it's
Yeah.
like something like really connects, and you're like, okay, this is like yeah, this person knows exactly, yeah, we just like work really well together, type of thing.
Because I would love to have like a nice, pleasing, two-dimensional like side view character. It would be crazy to have like an isometric, fully fleshed out tile set. Maybe I would just stick with like a standard, like sort of 2.5D, like the characters like paper thin, but they walk. If there's like and they can have like a sword or something. Uh, I always think if I just had a nice, well-rounded set of tiles, that would be a great foundation. Like especially if it was not some like it was like if it was sort of like I technically own the art set, it would be fun to just kind of use that and then tell a variety of stories with like just thinking about like like semi-crushed stone walls or stone tiles that some of them are cracked or there's grass like on the ground and like a way to just do water tiles easily and like a nice chest and maybe the chest can break if you hit it, then uh yeah, that it might just start feeling like you could make like something episodic or something like every once in a while you could build a world that looks nice and yeah, it would kind of be fun to start like working in that way.
Yeah, yeah, something like more uniform in art style, and yeah, it's also just like I feel like empowering to have like good art assets. Like, yeah, I worked on, I think it was like the Min Max Game Jam uh like 2 years ago. There was like a professional artist on the team, and they could just like deliver this like really nice art, and I feel like that was yeah, definitely empowering. It's like, oh, now I can just like yeah, slot this in wherever, and it like immediately looks pleasant. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny how wired yeah, it's like a lot of a game is like a screenshot and the screenshot is like the art and if the art looks good, like we know what a good game like looks like almost. And so
Uh,
the game like you'll have so much like a game will people will believe like a game is so good without like playing it just based on like how we have these cues, like these visual cues.
right.
I guess a little bit that's like my friend is getting into using like Claude to make games and he's not like a programmer. And like a little bit I think that's what's happening is he's like prompting it to give him a thing and then it gives him like a game that is kind of broken but like the art, it'll throw in art assets from somewhere and then right away it's like well this looks like something, it makes you feel like it's like well I could never do this before but all it did was like pull in and rip off like art assets from somewhere and
Yeah.
and like it's like the character moves but it's like not it's not going to be like it's not going to have juice or anything but it like looks like it does because it's like well where did the art come from, like you sort of it's like so hard for the human brain to just kind of like see past the cover or like the art or the visuals and like sort of sink into the because you can't like before you play it or before you test it or before you spend like an hour with it you can't like sense if it's fun or not. You just sort of it's like well this looks like a game that I've seen before. So probably you start making all these assumptions.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like, yeah, for like trailers. Yeah. Yeah. I like almost didn't even trust like gameplay trailers
Yeah.
anymore. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just kind of like, I'll just wait for whatever, like, the reviews say, like,
Yeah.
um, yeah. But I guess it's different if there's like developers that I have some inbuilt trust for. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Or if it's just like an indie team that I'm like, well, they probably aren't like trying to like cheat anybody of anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I'll talk to you next week then.
Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah. Works for me.
Yeah, I'll see. Yeah, actually, I'll mention it. It's gonna be fun to see like Haley and Sarah go to Japan. That'll be a cool. I guess it'll be a while before that travel log gets out, but that'll be a cool one.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it'll be a fun one. Yeah. Look forward to I gotta catch up and watch my Spain one. The Spain one.
Are you planning? Are you doing the 1 hour one or the or the 11?
Oh gosh, yeah, I don't know. I probably just the hour one for time purposes. But if I had the felt like I had the time, I would yeah maybe do the 11 hour because that does sound really interesting.
Yeah, I was feeling overwhelmed. I didn't want to like sink. I just felt like it was so. Sometimes, yeah, like I think I'll go back. Like now that I've seen the 1 hour, I feel like it could be cool to watch the 11 hour. But I think I
Hmm.
always had to watch the 1 hour first to just like get like primed in a reasonable way.
Right.
Yeah.
Not feel overwhelmed by it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Good talking. See
Yeah.
you next week.
Yeah, I'll see you.